You're listening to the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, and with over 1.6 million downloads, this is the place to be for all your short-term rental knowledge as part of the Vacation Rental Formula Business School. If you're a regular listener, you know Heather and the VRF B School team are now specializing in coaching and consultancy for short-term rental property management, and now with a laser focus on incorporating AI into your daily operations. If you're thinking AI sounds exciting but have no idea where to start, then you'll want to hear this. We're running a brand new series of free webinars designed specifically for short-term rental operators who want to get ahead of the curve without drowning in the tech overwhelm. Inside these sessions, we'll break down what AI actually looks like in a real property management business, from automating guest messages to leveling up your systems, marketing, and team operations. And if you've ever wished someone on your team could take the lead on all this, well, that's exactly what the AI Ambassador Program is built for. The webinars will walk you through how it works, what you will be implementing, and why early adopters like you will be ahead of the industry curve. So pull out your notes app because you're going to want in on this. Visit the link in the description of this episode for more information or visit the show notes. Stay tuned as we'll talk more about this in the mid-episode break. So without further delay, here's your host, Heather Bayer.
This is the Vacation Rental Success Podcast, keeping you up to date with news, views, information and resources on this rapidly changing short-term rental business. I'm your host, Heather Bayer, and with 25 years of experience in this industry, I'm making sure you know what's hot, what's not, what's new, and what will help make your business a success. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. This is your host, Heather Bayer, and as ever, I am super delighted to be back with you once again. There's some people who've been on this show numerous times over the years, and thinking Matt Landau, David Angotti, Andrew McConnell, Brooke Fouts. Yep, there's been quite a few, but usually I have around a year between inviting them on for another episode to make sure that enough time has gone past so that we've got some new content to share with you. But it's only been 5 months since Neely Khan was last on the show. But in that time, the world of AI, the world of content and storytelling has shifted so dramatically. I knew we needed to bring her back. If you follow Neely on LinkedIn, you know she's been talking a lot recently about something called GEO, also known as AEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, or Answer Engine Optimization. So Neely's come back to talk about this. It's about AI-driven search. And it isn't just AEO or GEO isn't just a new acronym, it's a new reality for all of us. So Neely's the founder of Artwork Creative, a story branding agency. And it's doing incredible work in hospitality, helping brands like Tara Home Consulting and Abode Luxury Rentals not only tell their stories beautifully, but what's so important to make sure that those stories show up in the age of AI. So in this episode, we're diving, to use an AI expression, we're diving deep into how Neely and her team are helping these short-term rental brands evolve. We're going to talk about what makes content AI smart and emotionally resonant. And also, Neely's been journeying across Europe over the last few months, so I want to ask what she's learned from a packed few months of speaking and attending events across Europe, including Scale Manchester, VRWS in Rome, and the Women's European Leadership Summit. So take some time, grab a coffee, put your walking boots on or whatever, and join me for this wonderful conversation. So I am super delighted that I'm here today once again with Neely Khan from Artwork Creative. Neely, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. And in fact, just as an insider for those who are listening, we scheduled our recording for 9 o'clock this morning. It's now 20 past 9, and we had to drag ourselves off our social chit-chat and back to the matter at hand, welcome. Thank you so much for coming back. And within 5 months, which is a first for this podcast.
Oh, is it? I'm so honored. Thank you for welcoming me back. It's always a pleasure. It's just so easy to have a conversation with you. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I did say in the introduction that there's some people who've been on this podcast multiple times. So talking Matt Landau and David Angotti and Brooke Fout and numerous others. You've been on several times, but it's very rare that I will do the same person within 6 months. So you are the first to be back on so soon. And I think that points to where you're going in your business, where I'm going in my business, and how this whole topic of AI is infiltrating the whole industry. So let's kick off, Neely, with, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, and if anybody's on LinkedIn, of course they know who you are. Maybe there's a few under rocks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are currently.
Sure. I am a writer by trade. I've always wanted to be a writer. I was freelancing in the short-term rental industry as a story person, content writer, copywriter for about 8 years. And then a few months ago, earlier this year, I co-bought an agency, which we have repositioned as a storytelling agency, now working with AI exclusively with hospitality brands. And I very cheekily call myself founder the third because we had 2 founders prior to myself. And because I've repositioned it, we have this new identity for AWC, which is the name of the agency. And the soul of what I've always been about has very much remained. We're still all about story, all about soul, all about human connection, all about brand stickiness. But we are now also combining that with living and existing and being found in a world that is very much driven by AI.
I think most of us have done this process now where instead of just writing something into Google, looking at all the results that come up, we now do the same thing. We still write our questions on Google, but we look at what first comes up, which is no longer paid ad. It is now a summary that's delivered by AI. And I think this is what is changing how we need to build our marketing, because we want to be in that top section, because people are no longer going down and looking at the independent listings underneath it. So let's kick off by exploring what this is actually about, because we've been brought up on SEO and now we've got to talk about AE or GEO. So over to you to give us that acronym discovery, if you like.
Yeah, so it is quite overwhelming, isn't it, with all the acronyms flying around. And look, it's actually quite simple. Difference between SEO and GEO, which happens to be the main question that I think I get, and we can then move on to AEO. So SEO, as many of us know, search engine optimization, that is all about ranking and showing up in traditional search engines like Google. It's all about driving traffic to your website. So that's the basic premise of SEO. GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, is about being cited and being referenced in a positive way, of course, by AI-enabled search. So showing up on platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, and being trusted. So while SEO is all about being ranked and showing up and just having your brand name shown up multiple times, GEO does include that too, but a large part of that is also being trusted and being cited in a positive way and being understood. And that's really the main premise of GEO optimization. Is your brand, yes, showing up, but is it also being trusted and is it being understood in the right context?
So we also hear about answer engine optimization. What is the difference between AEO and GEO?
Yes, there is. They have an overlap. So AEO strategy can form a part of GEO strategy. AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization. And I think this is where it's quite easy to become confused. So when you're optimizing your content, for example, for AEO, what you're specifically doing is answering questions that your ideal customers are perhaps asking when they're typing things into Google now, which is a lot more different than what it used to be, or into their AI tools. So, for example, if you're writing copy for the FAQ section of your website, question, answer, that's an example of AEO optimized content. So that can be part of your GEO strategy. But that acronym refers specifically to your copy, your content, whatever it is you're putting out, answering those specific questions.
That sounds like a huge task. You've got to think about absolutely everything that a potential guest is going to ask. So how do you... We're going to go a bit more into the meat of how we deal with this content, because we use... Do you remember those old days of keyword stuff?
My goodness.
Because you'd use a tool and keyword finder and come up with this long list of keywords that people might put into their Google search. For us, it was cottage rental.
Pack it in.
So to our cottage rental website, where you'll find many cottage rentals. And it just went... I remember this so clearly, going back 20 odd years ago when this was very popular, because you're inspiring me to ask questions that I hadn't thought of. So I'm helping some of my clients at the moment with their websites to make them better seen, to make them heard, and to make them more trustworthy. And I've been looking at a lot of sites and looking at front pages, above the fold, the thing that people first see. How important is that? I want to make sure I'm not heading them off in completely the wrong direction.
No, I think just judging by what you've been doing, what I've been seeing, I think you're doing an excellent job. You're definitely ahead of the curve. And I think one of the most important things to remember as we delve deeper into this conversation is that we are all actually still learning, right? Because this is all still relatively new. And a lot of what we're doing in this time next year, we might be speaking about very different strategies. So to answer your question, the above the fold section of a website, which is a term that we used to hear so often, right? And we still do to some extent. Yes, it is still important. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be in terms of it's important because GEO strategy and AI is telling us it's important. It's always been important. So I think that's something that we should be having in mind anyway, because one, obviously, it's what your customers and guests are looking at first. Two, it's answering those immediate questions if it is written in a appropriate way. So then you're fulfilling the needs of wanting to show up in AI-enabled search too. And three, it looks nice for your brand. And that's actually still important too. So I think a lot of the sort of older strategies, for lack of better term, that used to be very popular, like above the fold and having the correct copy at the top of your website, that is all still very appropriate. And I think what we'll find, especially towards the end of this conversation, is that GEO, optimizing your content for GEO, for AI-enabled search, actually involves a lot of the same principles that any good copywriter, that any good SEO copywriter should be factoring into their work anyway. So there is definitely an overlap.
Okay, so when we're talking content, brand content, we want to structure it so that the AI can read it and trust. Where do we start?
Oh, that's a broad question, but I love it. So I'm sure you...
Let's say you're walking into one of your new clients. I know you're working with some amazing brands at the moment. Abode Luxury Rental. We love Rachel all day.
We do.
At Abode, because she is open to everything that is out there right now. She wants to be at the forefront, not just because she wants Abode Luxury Rentals to be at the forefront, but because she wants to get this right for her guests and for her owners, and to deliver that luxury service that is in her heart, but she wants it to explain it on her website as well. That's that sort of juxtaposition between what's in your heart, where your values are, and then actually putting them out there in text. That's a tough one. That's a tough nut to crack. But she's out there. She's hired you to do the content. And from what I've seen on her website, it is pretty awesome. So let's start with, if you're starting with a new client like Rachel or like Tara Home Consulting, which is another one you're working with at the moment.
Also brilliant.
Where do you start?
Okay, so it very much depends on what the end goal is here. So if the brief is as simple as, and this is one of the most common briefs we're getting at the moment, especially with the launch of our new service, Kahani. So the brief is often, okay, we want to show up in AI-enabled search. We want to show up when people are looking for our services, our products. And I think that's one of the main problems that we are solving. So how we would approach that is actually very nuanced, and I'm going to try and summarize it as best as I can. Everything starts with understanding the audience, right? That's just a core principle. Everything starts with understanding why are guests coming to you, or why are they looking for what you're offering? What are the kind of desires and the needs that they have? Where do they come from? What are their hobbies, their interests? And how is what you're serving aligning with what they are looking for? So that's the first conversation we have with all our clients. Then we audit their websites and possibly their other social media platforms. And we offer our report on how well we think that brand is showing up for their target guest, their target clientele, and whether they're answering those key questions. And that's when the nuances of our specific strategies and work comes in. So what I usually like to do is, based on the answers of that first question, what is it that your audience is looking for? And it doesn't have to be something, we go way beyond something as simple as a chalet in the mountains, what is beyond that? Time with their family, somewhere affordable that they can stay during the school holidays, somewhere where they can stay comfortably with their large family, where they can take their parents and their grandparents. So we ask these questions. Then what we do is we create a brand narrative around that, what my work has been about. So that part doesn't change. That narrative, it may be fiction, it may be nonfiction, whatever it is, it will be wrapped around the brand services and products in a way that is engaging. So that's where the point of difference comes in. Then we come to the strategic part of actually writing that copy, that content, that script, whatever it is that we're creating. Because we've got the pretty part, we've got the beautiful copy, we've got the engaging story. Now we need to go in and see where we can optimize that. So we're answering the questions of the machines. And it's actually not as complicated as I think people make out to be, because AI, the bots, they're looking for specifics. They're looking for the details. They're looking for, okay, you say this vacation rental is in Birmingham, but what street? Is it next to any popular landmarks? Is it next to a chocolate shop where there is a chocolatier who makes chocolate there every day? Little details like that. What's the weather like? And actually, if you are a good writer anyway, and a good story person anyway, you will include these details. So it's very much a combination of that beautiful, creative, story-led approach that we've always had. And now we're merging it with having it structured in the right way and including those little details that keep the bots happy, and then just optimizing it. But I think the secret is that you can't have one without the other for that desired goal. You need to understand how good copy works. You need to understand what makes a good story. It's very helpful if you're naturally creative. And then you also need to understand what the machine is looking for. It's about serving the human and the machine simultaneously.
Wow, there's a lot of that there.
That was a lot. It's for a long time.
Unwrap. Let me just come back to you with what I was hearing. I think avatars is a primary resource here, is understanding who your avatar are, who your ideal customer is. Now, I know I was doing this yesterday. I was on a course. I was a student on a course yesterday in a workshop, and it was really crazy, interesting workshop about using AI to create these things like avatars.
Mm-hmm.
I created an ebook. I created a 46-page ebook in less than 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That was in my voice.
Mm.
It was written as I
Right? So cool.
So we're talking here about avatars, finding Oh, yes. So stepping back a little. So I'm just getting my head back together now. Part of the course was before you write, you've got to know who you're writing it for.
Exactly.
Now, years ago, I remember creating avatars, and I'd sit forever and just write out who my ideal guests were. And now we can do it in minutes with AI, providing you deliver it the right knowledge with. You can't just say, I'm in a beach town on the Gulf Coast and I want 3 avatars.
Yeah, exactly.
You need more than that. And I'm sure when you're working with your clients that they are giving you a lot more information about their guests. Where do they get that information from?
I think what we're finding is that a lot of it, because a lot of the brands we work with, we're very fortunate. They've been running their businesses for several years quite successfully, and they're amazing people and amazing brands, and they already know their guests quite well. So we're actually quite fortunate. They ask their guests, oh, okay, so how did you find us? What do you like about us? What can we improve? And I think it seems quite basic, but I think it's so forgotten. They keep in touch with their guests, past, present, and hopefully future too. And I think that helps us a lot. And then we also really like to take a look at how they're engaging on like their social media platforms. We really do a deep run through they've had an email marketing strategy, any kind of communications, and also their team members. Rachel she's wonderful. She's done such a fantastic job with her team, and her team make up a lot of that brand identity. And I know she speaks about this a lot. And I actually tend to work with her team more now and have more conversations with them. They give me all of those little details about the interactions they have with their guests. So that's very helpful too.
Just explain, what do you mean by optimizing?
Yes. So optimizing copies for a specific purpose. I think the easiest way to explain it is that when you optimize copy, you're making sure that you're doing everything you can to make it stand out among the sea of other content out there to the right people. So when I talk about optimizing for AI-enabled search, I'm thinking about, okay, so we've got this brilliant piece of copy. What else can we add to it? Or maybe even take away, because sometimes it's about subtracting, to make sure that I am training AI to understand it and to trust it. Am I doing everything I can to make sure AI understands what this brand does and why this brand should be chosen? And that's what I mean by optimizing.
Okay, so let's go deeper into that. How do you do that? Now, I know you also mentioned it's important to understand how to write copy. And I think this is what people don't realize, that AI isn't, you can ask AI to write your copy, but unless you understand what good copy looks like, you don't really know if it's doing the job you actually want it to do. Let's just explore that a little bit more. How do you know that what you're doing, what you're putting into your copy, is what is going to be read by the machines?
Yeah, there are definitely certain things that you can do straight away. The most common and easy to understand framework is, I'm sure you've heard of it too, EEAT. So EAT stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And those give you the foundational pillars that you can think about when you're creating content, authority, and trust. So when you are creating all of this, because it's not just one piece of copy to bear in mind, across the board, are you showcasing why your guests love you, how long you've been doing that? Do you have reviews? Are you showing up on those review websites? Are you getting third-party references from credible organizations and businesses? Are you showing up on Reddit threads and in those kinds of conversations? So it really is a culmination of all those things. It's such a broad strategy. Unfortunately, it's not just one thing or 2-3 things that you can do, and then you'll all of a sudden start showing up on AI-enabled search. It very much is a collective effort. And I guess this is why it's quite different to SEO and keyword stuffing. As you say, it's about distributing that content in the right way across different platforms and encouraging other people to say good things about you too. So for example, after this podcast, when you share the episode, you will maybe write something about me, you will write something about my agency. And those things really help me and my agency And even now, when I ask ChatGPT, not my own GPT, but a non-branded one, to tell me a little bit about Neely Khan, I have noticed that the podcast episodes I've done with you, they do show up. So it does work. But EEAT is a really important, really helpful framework to remember.
We want to take a quick break here because if you're running a short-term rental business today, you've probably felt it. The industry is moving fast. Faster guest expectations, tighter margins, and now a wave of AI tools that promise the world. And if only someone had the time to figure them out. That's exactly why we built the AI Ambassador program. Think of it as training your very own in-house AI leader, someone on your team who knows your business, knows your systems, and can take the lead on implementing AI in a way that actually saves time instead of adding more noise. Over 8 weeks of live training, your ambassador learns how to uncover bottlenecks, evaluate pain points, map how work actually gets done, and identify where AI can make the biggest difference. They'll build effective prompts, create AI-powered SOPs, strengthen team communication, and choose the right tools to make daily operations smoother and more efficient. Then they get 9 months of group coaching to keep the momentum going and help you avoid the "we learned something cool but never used it" trap. And because so many managers are asking for support right now, registration for our next intake is officially open. And if you want someone in your company to confidently lead the AI transition, instead of everyone guessing their way through it, this is the moment to step in. The truth is simple. Early adopters here will be ahead of the industry curve. Register for our upcoming webinar series using the link in the show notes to get some quick AI wins and a taster of what your AI ambassador will become a master of. Trust me, this is the kind of hour that pays you back every single week.
So you see a lot of websites which are, there's maybe a minimal blog and then the rest are all the listings.
Yeah.
Yes. So if somebody's out listening to this now thinking, oh yeah, well, that's my website. It really is just a repository to put all my listings and a booking engine in. And it just strikes me that really that takes away the real purpose of a good website at the moment. What pages should people have in their website as a bare minimum?
So let's talk about the what and the how as well, because in my opinion, I think you can still have the basic pages that we expect to see from short-term rental websites. And as long as you are populating them in the right way, that should work absolutely fine. So bar the listings, you obviously have your homepage. You will absolutely want an about page or a story page, as we like to brand them, an FAQ section of some sort, maybe an experiences page. You can call that whatever you like, but I think a page dedicated to things to do around the area, places to eat, places to go. Almost treat it like a mini. We actually built a website for a villa in Catalonia called Amari Villa. And their website is brilliant because it looks like a mini Condé Nast feature. It's just gorgeous. It's not massive, but it's like a little travel catalog. And we've preserved all of that soulful story for them, but we've structured it in such a way that it's answering all the questions that people are going to be asking specifically about holidays in Greece. So I think, yeah, homepage, story page, some kind of an experience page, things to do, FAQ section, very helpful when it comes to your AEO strategy specifically. And then obviously things like your contacts page. And I think if you populate those pages in the correct way, that is usually enough. I think it's really important to remember that getting found is one thing and being chosen is a completely different thing. You can get found, but if your potential guests lands on your website as a result of you being cited on ChatGPT and your website is shit, they're probably not going to book with you.
I think this brings in that topic of trust, doesn't it? And, that's part of the EEAT, the T is, and I'm hearing the word trust so much from people that are using AI a lot. And I think that's a bit of an oxymoron, is trust AI. They don't seem to go together, but they are being talked about in the same sentence, trust and AI. So the trust element, I've chosen to look at this website, or rather, I've found this website, but am I going to choose it to book my vacation? And that therein lies that trust element. How do you feed trust into these pages to ensure that people stay on the website and also that it meets that EEAT element?
Yeah, I love that we're talking about this. Our tagline, should I say, with Kahani, our service is found by AI, chosen by humans. And that chosen by humans thing is so important. And that's where the conversation of trust comes in. So both human beings, obviously, and AI is begging for content and for brands it can trust. So anything that you can do to prove that you are liked and you are loved via verified reviews, maybe case studies. I usually really don't like that word, but if you have experiences, video testimonials, and also don't trivialize the importance of quality and branding too, because guests do trust a brand that looks like it's going to deliver a great guest experience. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of pounds on it if you can't, but do invest in your brand and the way you're positioning yourself, the way you look. Consistency, it's so important to have consistency in all of the content that you're putting out. So consistency in terms of tone of voice, consistency in terms of the message, your overarching message, what it is that you're saying to people that you do, what you offer. So if on your website, you're saying that you are family friendly, but then on a social media post, you were talking about, I don't know, couples retreats and something completely different, that's going to confuse AI. And it's going to confuse your audience too. You confuse, you lose. It's one of my favorite sayings. So that's really important for trust as well. And again, it's a combination of all these different things. But I think consistency, actual proof of happy guests, some kind of verification to prove that you're trusted, and just good quality copy and good quality photos and just quality.
We've been talking about trust on the podcast. This is one of the things that remains. It's a constant.
Yeah.
Things come and go, but trust is always there. How people trust you will make the difference between whether they're just going to click off and go somewhere else, or if they're going to do what you want them to do.
Exactly that.
You want them to give you money. And I think I've seen designs where it's clear that whole give me money is not factored in to the way they've designed it and the way they put it together. They haven't really thought of the journey through the site. That when people got to the booking page, they then filled in this incredibly long about themselves and their party. And then we looked at the bounce rate, and that's where people were bouncing out. And we changed it to just said, give us your credit card, and then we'll ask you the questions. Before they got to that point where they're going to put that number in. It's precious to people. And I think we forget that. So where does brand voice fit in all of this? Because I think people are listening and going, if AI is answering everything, we've just got to write for this machine. Where does my brand voice fit in?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And you're right, it is a common question. And I think so many people are quite confused about the concept of brand voice anyway, and this is making it even more confusing for so many of them. So first of all, we are not just writing for machines, right? We are writing for machines and for human beings. Human beings make the ultimate choice to spend money with you, but we also want to show up with the machine. So it's very much writing for both. I think that's the first and most important thing to remember. How do you keep your brand voice intact? So when I think about brand voice, I think a lot of people misunderstand it as, okay, our brand voice is luxury, which means nothing really. And our brand voice is fluffy. So we use lots of nice adjectives in all of our copy. Brand voice goes far beyond that. When I speak about brand voice, I think I'm specifically referring to what is the overarching message that you are delivering consistently. Who are you speaking to? When you're writing your copy, always try and imagine the one person. Write for one person. It's a really good hack, if you will. In your head, think of one person you're writing for, and the consistency will be there. What is the semantic field of all of the content that you're putting out? And by semantic field, the theme. So for example, if the theming of one bit of copy that you're creating, you've decided is angelic, celestial, you're not going to use verbs like thriving and championing, not because they're not good words, but because that doesn't fit into the semantic field of the copy and the content that you're trying to create to be consistent. So that's what we mean by brand voice. So you can dress your copy up with the words of your choosing, the syntax of your choosing, without disturbing the structure that needs to remain intact for the machine. Optimizing your copy for AI-enabled search does not mean sacrificing the soul and the beautiful nature of what you've put together. There is a way of doing both and doing both very successfully. But again, it does help if you work with copywriters, people who understand brand, and then also people who understand the technicalities of GEO too. It's not easy. So everybody's trying to figure it out. But in my experience, and I have been looking quite deeply into it, it's about creating the beautiful copy first and then going in and restructuring where you can without losing the beauty of what it is that you've created.
Would you suggest that people go to a website or go to Google, put a question in as if they were a guest, and then look to see what comes up?
Oh, I love them.
For the sun and the warm.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. So would you, let's say I've got a property management company down there, and I put into Google a question that I think my guest might ask, and then look and see what the AI result is at the top of the Google search. Is that helpful to people to see what is being delivered when those questions are being asked?
I actually quite like doing that for fun. And I have a feeling, Heather, you probably do that too. But because it is very interesting to see what the AI responses come up with when we pop in different questions into Google. So yeah, I think that's an excellent way of just getting an idea on what AI is looking for and how they're responding to specific questions. And also experimenting with different question styles, different prompts, different specifics. I think that's definitely an excellent way to go. Looking at how AI tools and LLMs are behaving when we give them certain prompts and certain questions, it will only be more beneficial for us. And this is why I think, Heather, that you're so ahead of the curve with the work that you're doing. You really...
I've just put geek at the end of my name.
No, I love it. So impressive.
My family look at me in very odd ways now.
Yeah, you are.
Because I wear my AI T-shirts and my AI ball cap.
You have an AI T-shirt. I love that so much.
Yeah. Okay, talk about what you got out of all the conferences you've been to. But before we do that, let's just leave this AI, this GEO, AEO conversation with, if our listeners did one thing today, to make a change to their website copy or their story to capture the interest of AI search, what would that be?
Oh, that's a great question. So the first thing I would say that businesses should do when looking at their websites, give yourself a very honest self-audit. Lots of people are still, and I get it, look, no judgment here, but they're still writing copy in the name of luxury and style that sounds like bad poetry. It's very vague, very glossy. It's not actually answering any questions, right? Unfortunately, most of us can't get away with that, right? Because we're not that recognized enough. So we need to tell people what it is that we are doing. And this will serve you so well when it comes to human beings visiting your website and when it comes to AI trying to understand what it is that you do. Don't make it so difficult for people to understand why they should be booking with you. Your website should really answer straight away. If you're a short-term rental company, where are you based? Who are you designed for? And what do you offer in terms of experience? Seaside escapes, cottages, whatever it is. What's your point of difference? Because that's where the point of difference part comes in. So you don't just sound like everybody else. It's very basic, but I feel like it's something that a lot of people aren't doing. Before you even go and speak to a copywriter, a brand strategist, an AI expert, take a look at your website and all of the pages and keep asking yourself, okay, is there a better way of me explaining this? That is the very first thing I would do. And make notes and be very honest with yourself.
So that's a great suggestion. The AI for Business Summit I went to last week, there was a terrific session called Be the Only. And I've mentioned this a couple of times.
Oh,
In the
I love
last
that.
couple of episodes, I've mentioned this because it really hit home to me. The guy who delivered it was called Brad Holkman. And he's great to follow, really great to follow on LinkedIn.
Oh,
to
please
his
do.
LinkedIn. So he said, let's imagine you're out on the casino floor, you've got a $100 bill and a $2 bill. Which one of those are you going to want to keep?
Did you?
And it's the $2 bill because it's the rare one. And he talks about this in all his presentations. But the meat of his session was about how you can define how you are the only one.
Yeah.
I am the only one that does X.
Oh, I love that.
And it's a very simple premise. Definitely go look at Brad's LinkedIn, see his post. And what you were just saying about websites, look at your website. Is it the same as everybody else?
Yes. And I love what you've said about Brad. So what we say at AWC is actually very similar. We say become the only. And we say it, we put it on all of our proposals too. It's right at the top, become the only. And everything that we create, for the same reasons that I'm sure Brad covered too, is very much about creating your own unique identity. And I think there's this such remarkability in that, especially now, right? When so many people are sounding like regurgitated versions of whoever else they happen to read that day.
Exactly. I think we've covered a lot here. I want to talk about all the conferences you've been to over the last few months. I've been seeing you popping up from Rome and from Manchester and other places across Europe that I can't remember.
Italy, and Genoa.
Genoa, yes. What did you come away with? What's the emerging stuff that people are talking about? Whether it's tech trends or whether it's just in general conversation. What are you hearing that's a little bit different these days?
I love that we're speaking about this. It is impossible for me to answer this question without mentioning the Women in Vacation Rentals Europe conference in Genoa, which took place in October. That was hosted by Tara Home Consulting, founded by Christiana. And that, for me, so far, has been the standout event of the year. We were in a castle in Genoa, and it was beautiful. The weather was beautiful. The energy was beautiful. Speaking so openly. And Heather, when I say that that day changed my life, it truly changed my life, because there were some very deep conversations that took place. I was speaking, and I was the very last speaker, closed the show, which was very nerve-wracking, but it was fantastic. And anybody who was at that event will understand exactly what I mean here, but I really did believe that event changed a person. There was so much talk about showing up as women, not feeling like we need to constantly be in our masculine energy or emulate men just because we think that's how we will be taken more seriously. And that for me was just so refreshing. I was also on a panel at that conference. It was a very last minute thing, actually. I had to jump on talking about AI. And again, it wasn't called a Women in AI panel. It was just a panel, about AI. And we happened to all be women. And that was so refreshing too. And I think that has been a theme for me this year, the kind of standout features at all of the conferences that I've been attending. So I also went to Scale Italia, also hosted by Tara Home Consulting. Once again, beautiful energy. It was lovely to see some of my American friends. I met Alex and Annie for the first time. She's like my soul sister. And then Scale UK Manchester most recently, which took place last year. And there was a lot of conversation about AI, but actually there was a lot of conversation about humanity. Damien Sheridan and I, we presented a session about inclusivity, and it felt so apt to speak about seeing the human beings, guests as human beings, operators as human beings, in a time where everybody's talking about the machine and automation. And I'm not sure if you've noticed this too, but there seems to be this greater need of connection and humanness. And I think we're very fortunate because we're in this beautiful time where we can merge the two.
Yeah, I love that.
Not sure.
Guest
Sorry.
experience or revenue management. We're talking about humanity. And I think that is so important in this era now. Going back to AI for business, there was a brilliant presentation on AI and humanity.
Oh, I love.
I need to go back to that one. I made loads of notes. I recorded it.
Yeah.
But yes, it was about how we're talking about AI now is how I'm hearing some of my, not work peers, but friends and family talking about AI, and it's taking away everything. My brother-in-law, I mention him all the time on this podcast. He's a Luddite.
Oh.
And yeah, I think
They're tough converts, yeah.
they are tough to convert. And his fear is that his grandchildren are going to be brainless. They won't, as he says, all their brains are going to be devolved by AI.
Yeah.
I think this conversation about humanity and AI is a really important one to have. You've really made me want to go to next year's Women's Summit.
Oh, you should. If there's one conference you go to next year, it should be that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to seek that one out. I even thought, well, maybe I could speak there. Title of my talk would be Never Too Late.
Oh, I love that. Time to send Christiana a message. I think I was saying this to you earlier, Heather, before we even started recording. You're so in demand as a speaker. Everybody wants to hear from you. So I think that would be fantastic, but it would be amazing to see you. I think it's happening in Barcelona next year.
I know.
Always.
To talk with you. We need to do more of this sitting down and chatting where there is no podcast involved.
Yeah, it's always such a pleasure, I think. And thank you. I really am so honored. Really, thank you. Because you do all the hard work. I just show up. You do everything else.
It was definitely a necessary conversation to have, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're back on here in another 5 months.
Oh.
So we'll watch this space. For everybody that's listening, you need to follow Neely on LinkedIn. She records amazing videos, usually with a coffee in hand, and talks about much more than just short-term rentals. But this is about the humanity we've been discussing. So definitely follow her on there. Where else should they follow you, Neely? Is there anywhere else?
I think LinkedIn is the way to go for all. I tend to share a bit of everything on LinkedIn. So yeah, we'll stick to LinkedIn. Keep it easy for people.
Okay, that will be on the show notes, as will a link to Neely's company, AWC. If you're thinking that all this is fascinating and you definitely need to do something about the way you're showing up, then go connect with Neely and AWC. Neely, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. That was terrific. I always walk away from a conversation with Neely feeling so inspired, and this time also a little more equipped for what's coming next, and with a greater understanding of the differences between AEO and GEO and SEO. We are just overwhelmed with acronyms, and hopefully this session just enlightened you a little bit about those particular ones. So if you're feeling the shift in how content gets seen and how AI is rewriting the rules of visibility, as you heard, you are not alone. So before we wrap up, I want to make sure you know about something really exciting happening for the first weekend of December. It's the AI for Business Summit. It's a completely free 3-day online event packed with practical, actionable content about how to use AI to grow your business. This is how I really got into AI in my business. I went to one of their free summits back in April, I think, and I was totally hooked. At first, I was a little dubious. I thought this is just going to be another one of those pitch events where they give you half the information and then they pitch you something that you've got to go pay for to get the rest of it. This is not like this. I repeat, this is not like this. The guys who run AI for Business are some of the most giving, generous, and genuine and authentic people that I know. I've had the opportunity to meet them in person on 2 occasions now, at the AI for Business Summit in Orlando in June, and just a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas. And they walk the talk, they do exactly what they say can be done. And I'm blown away with the amount of amazing information that they share freely in these virtual summits, which they do every few weeks. So I'm going to put a link into the show notes for the next free AI for Business Summit. I strongly recommend you go along, and even if you just pick out a couple of the sessions that really appeal to you, I guarantee you will come away having learnt something very new and very valuable. So if today's episode sparked your curiosity about how AI is transforming our industry, this summit actually takes it even further. I'll be tuning in, even though I'm a premier member now of AI for Business. I pay for the top category of membership because it is so worth it. But I still tune in to the summits, the virtual summits, because I will always capture something new. They do these summits every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's always new material because, of course, AI is changing all the time. So that's just my little pitch for the AI for Business Summit. And in full transparency, the link you hit is an affiliate link. So I don't get anything if you just go to the summit. But if you then decide you're going to pay the very small amount to get the replays, then I get a little percentage of that, which is quite nice for us. So take a look anyway. See what you think. Ask me any questions if you've got them. And as always, thank you for being part of this amazing community of short-term rental professionals. It's always wonderful after 12 years to still be delivering episodes to you. I hope you're still enjoying them. Thank you once again to Neely for joining me. And until next time, stay inspired, keep informed, and keep striving for your success.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast. And before we wrap up today, I want to remind you, if you've been feeling that nudge that it's time to get ahead with AI, don't ignore it. The operators who lean in now are the ones who will be leading the market 12 months from today. Our free AI webinar series is your chance to see what's possible, get practical examples, and decide whether someone on your team should step in to that AI leadership role. It's simple, actionable, and built for real-world STR operators, not tech experts. The link to register is waiting for you in the description of this episode on your smart device and in our show notes. Go grab your spot now.
It's been a pleasure as ever being with you. If there's anything you'd like to comment on, then join the conversation on the show notes for the episode at vacationrentalformula.com. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to being with you again next week.